Alright, hey, how's everybody doing this morning? Welcome to Module 2. Um, in this module, we're going to be discussing the role of a product manager slash producer in the discussion board. As always, your initial post is due Thursday, your responses are due Sunday. For this discussion, you will convince your team that you are the right person to be the producer of a project by doing the following. You want to describe your strengths and things like that. Describe your project management technique and refer to Chapter 3. Basically, this is talking about um, management methodologies, Agile, Agile Scrum, um, sprints, things like that. So Chapter 3 really covers that very well. So pretty straightforward, read your book, and that'll um, give you all the information you need on the role. Finally, team formation and project design. Review the final project guidelines and rubric document along with the 3 scenarios. And that's a correction, there's 4 scenarios now. You guys can do a third-person game if you want to. Consult your email for all of them. To begin this assignment, check the wiki directory in your Bitbucket team repository page to see if another member of your group has created the wiki page. Okay, in order for this to happen, you guys need to let me know which scenario, and I will set up your Bitbucket for you. And that way, I can push the required scenario to your repo, and then all you guys will have to do is clone it. Alright, so basically choose a scenario, verify that the repository you're working with matches. Again, you guys choose that scenario, I'll set up your Bitbucket, and then you'll be able to do that. Brainstorm on content based on the preferred scenario in the design document. Now, if you guys choose to do a third person, kind of follow similar guidelines to what the like the side scroller talks about in terms of pickups. I think they have like jump pads and things like that, elevators. So kind of follow those guides. And also I want to mention in the first person document, it kind of specifies, having to create a virus and things like that. You guys don't have to specify it as a virus or, within an organ or anything like that. The theme can be entirely yours. Just kind of follow the minimum requirements in terms of having certain enemies and things like that. Create a schedule or timeline for developing your game based on due dates outlined within the course. So you want to look at that as like the alpha stage, the beta stage, the testing phase, things like that. Define whether or not each weekend you want to have your testing phases going for that iteration of the build. What I've seen teams do in the past is they would have a sprint between Monday and Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday is when they would do all of their testing and bug fixing. And then, if it was a submission week, they would submit the game, and they'd have, a very clean game. They wouldn't have a bunch of bugs in it, and so on. Determine the development goals for alpha and beta stage submissions. Your overall goals. What do you want to have finished by alpha? What do you want to have finished by beta? Preferred communication method. Again, I created the Discords for you. I strongly recommend you all use the Discords. It seems like everybody is. I was looking at the your Discord servers this morning, and it looks like all of you are pretty well acclimated to that system. So that makes me happy. Choose the frequency of communication. So basically, when are you going to be having your team meetings? I highly recommend at least maybe 2 meetings per week. The first meeting being towards the beginning of the week, and then the second meeting towards like the middle or end of the week. So what I've seen in the past is maybe like Tuesdays and then Fridays. So the Tuesday one, you could kind of talk about what you're going to be working on throughout the week, and then the Friday one, we'll talk about, like I said before, the testing, if you want to do all of your testing on the weekend. Choose a method for assigning and reporting on specific task items. Now, this is something that I wanted to point out to you guys. And I just got on my other screen opening Bitbucket here. And let me just hop into Bitbucket. Okay, so here's a repository that I made, just a basic tutorial repo. But there's an option when you create a new repo to create an issues tracker, which your Bitbucket will have. I'll make sure to create that. But if we go over here to issues, here we can create new issues. So if I click create issue, we can give it a title. So let's say character movement. Create the character movement, and then here you can define what it is. Mouse. And then, define the parameters of whatever the task is. You can select a user, so you can assign it to a particular person in the Bitbucket. You can say whether it's a bug or a task. So if it's a task, character movement's pretty major. Obviously, you won't have to worry about character movement too much because it's a template, so the character movement pretty much is already in there. The priority, obviously, you'll kind of give it a grade, how important it is to finish. And if there's any additional files, you can select those files. Right? So I'm going to assign this to me. Create issue. All right. So now we have this issue created with kind of details in here and so on. And doing it like this, not only can all of your team members kind of manage tasks evenly, but I can also come in here and talk about, if it's a bug, I can come in and comment saying how to fix it. I can post, a video link. I can post, really whatever, to help you guys kind of work through any issues that you have. And then once it's finished, you can just straight up click resolve. Change. And now change status to resolved, fixed, and you move on to the next one. Right? And you can go ahead and create a new issue up here. And it's a really nice way to manage everything. So I definitely recommend you guys utilize the issues tracker. And verify that the starter files in your repository match the project your team has chosen to develop. They should. Once you let me know which scenario it is, the files should definitely match. But if they don't, for whatever reason, contact me, and I'll be able to fix that for you. Creating and sharing a repository in SourceTree. Don't worry about this. Because like I said, I'll be creating it. For cloning it, however, we go into the announcements section. The Bitbucket LFS Part 2 is the video you guys are going to want to watch. Part 1 is about setting it up. Part 2 is about cloning it. And because I'm going to be setting your repos up using Git LFS, which is large file storage, it should help manage the size limit. So if I show you here, you typically a fresh Unreal Engine project without any starter content, just the basic content here, will run, I don't know, about maybe 30 megabytes. Sometimes, sometimes a little bit more, depending on what the template is and so on. But because this is Get LFS, if I go to downloads to show you the size, 419 kilobytes. And that's because of that large file storage. Actually, I had a team member in another class that he had, like a 20 gig project, but in Bitbucket, it was only, like 50 megabytes or something along those lines, and then when you download it, it kind of expands, it downloads the full files. It pretty much creates references to them, and then it'll give you the full file. The references are considered binaries, I believe. They're binary files. So yeah, let's go back to the learning modules. And yeah, that's pretty much it. As part of your final project, you submit a level for your game. For instructions on how to submit your final project, refer to the team level, guidelines and rubric. That's great. After your team has addressed the assignment in the wiki, submit the wiki URL to your instructor as a text submission. So when you guys are submitting this document, you just want to put the link as a text submission. And what I mean about wiki is once I get your Bitbucket set up, there's a page called wiki. Basically what you guys will do is create a page, and then let's go back here. Name the page Module 2 Team Project Plan. So what you'll do is go in here, Module 2 Project Plan. And then honestly what you guys can do is kind of use these as bullets. So scenario, if I could type, and then you want to talk about the scenario. So let's say you choose third person scenario, and then you want to go into detail regarding what that third person scenario is going to entail. Kind of using, let me open this up. Kind of using this as a guideline. So level requirements, single level should have a starting location and finish goal. Finish level should provide about 5 to 10 minutes of playtime, and so on. And talk about the elements you want, and so on. So all in all, this is going to be one page that's being created, and then all of you will just submit the link to me in a text document, just like you normally would on with any sort of submission. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's everything. So yeah, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I'll see you in the Discord.